The invitation arrived without warning. A glowing orb appeared in the sky above Earth's embassy station and dropped a scroll made of shimmering silk. No one knew how it got through the station's shields, but it was clear who had sent it. The royal family of the Chiral Empire. Captain Ryan was chosen to attend the feast, not because he was the highest-ranking officer, but because he was the only one the Chiral ever responded to. He had once saved a young Chiral scout during a skirmish years ago. Since then, they called him the Honored One. Now, he stood at the gates of a massive alien palace, its towers twisted like bones, its walls made of crystal that pulsed with soft blue light. Dozens of tall, graceful Chiral nobles waited at the entrance. Their insect-like bodies were decorated with gold chains and glowing paint. Their eyes, wide and bright, stared only at him. A soft drumbeat echoed through the air as Ryan stepped onto the golden path. Alien music played a strange rhythm that made his skin crawl. The nobles didn't speak, only bowed deeply. A tall female with shimmering wings stepped forward. She placed her hand on his chest and said, "The Queen welcomes you, Chosen One." Ryan raised an eyebrow. Chosen for what? But she didn't answer. She simply smiled and led him into the palace inside. The feast hall was like nothing he had seen before. Giant floating lanterns filled the air, glowing in different colors. Tables stretched across the hall, covered with plates of unknown food, some still moving, some breathing steam, and yet the place was silent. Every alien in the hall turned and stared as Ryan entered. He felt the weight of their eyes. A throne stood at the far end of the hall. On it sat the Chiral Queen, taller than all others, wearing a gown of living silk that moved like it had a mind of its own. Her wings were larger, and her eyes were deep purple. She raised a clawed hand, and the room lit up brighter. "Welcome, human," the Queen said, her voice echoing through the chamber. "Tonight, you are our honored guest, and tomorrow, you become part of our legacy." Ryan smiled politely. "That's generous of you, Your Majesty. Though I'm not sure what you mean by legacy." The Queen laughed softly. "You will understand soon enough." Servants surrounded him, guiding him to a seat made of carved bone and gold. They poured glowing liquids into his glass, served him steaming meat that smelled like roasted fruit. Every time he tried to ask questions, the servants just smiled and said, "All will be clear after the ceremony." Ryan tried to stay calm. He had been on strange worlds before. He had seen cultures that worshipped suns, others that danced on fire. But this felt different. It wasn't just alien. It was personal. He looked around. Everyone in the room seemed excited, whispering among themselves, their eyes always returning to him. One old noble leaned close and muttered, "You're lucky. The daughters are powerful. They'll treat you well if you satisfy them." Ryan blinked. "I'm sorry." "What?" But the noble just chuckled and turned away. Soon, the music changed. The soft drums turned heavy. A group of guards entered and cleared the center of the hall. The Queen stood and raised both arms. "Let the daughters be revealed," she declared. Large doors at the side of the hall creaked open. 3 figures stepped out, tall, graceful, and terrifyingly beautiful. Each of them wore thin robes of alien silk. Their bodies shimmered with strange patterns, and their hair was made of fine threads that moved like mist. Their eyes glowed, one silver, one red, one gold. The crowd clapped and bowed. The Queen pointed at Ryan. "This is the Chosen One, the first human to dine at our sacred table, and now the first to be offered to our royal daughters." Ryan's face went pale. "Offered?" The daughters walked slowly toward him, each staring at him like a predator watching prey. Their eyes didn't blink. Their lips curved into strange smiles. The silver-eyed one touched his hand. The red-eyed one leaned close and sniffed him. The gold-eyed one simply whispered, "He's perfect." The Queen clapped her hands. "Tonight, we feast. Tomorrow, he chooses." The music roared back to life. Ryan sat frozen in his seat. He had no idea what this was, but he knew one thing. This wasn't just a feast. This was a test, and he had just become the main course. The silver-eyed daughter didn't let go of Ryan's hand. Her grip was soft, but firm enough that he could feel the heat of her strange alien skin. He tried to smile, to act calm, but his heart was pounding like a war drum. The way she looked, At him it wasn't like he was a guest, it was like he was already hers. The red-eyed daughter leaned closer, her face inches from his. Her voice was silky, yet sharp like a blade. "Do you know what happens after the feast, human?" she asked, tilting her head. Ryan swallowed. "I was hoping you'd tell me," she giggled. But there was no humor in it. "We don't tell, we show." Before he could respond, the queen raised her hand, and the music stopped, the crowd silenced. With one gesture, she dismissed everyone except her 3 daughters and Ryan. The nobles left the hall like shadows fading into the walls. The heavy doors shut behind them. Ryan stood slowly. "Am I supposed to do something now?" The gold-eyed daughter stepped forward. She was the tallest and moved like a queen herself. Her voice was calm and deep. "You were not brought here for food, Captain. You were chosen for a much older tradition. And what tradition is that? To satisfy us," she said simply. The words hit him like a punch. Ryan blinked. "You're joking." They didn't laugh. The silver-eyed daughters circled around him. "Your DNA is unique, strong, strange, perfect for the royal bloodline. Mother has waited years for a suitable match," the red-eyed one added. "No alien male could match our standards. But you are different." Ryan tried to back away, but the gold-eyed one raised her hand and a golden barrier appeared behind him. There was no way out of the throne hall now. "I'm not a breeder," Ryan said, trying to keep his voice steady. "You are," said the gold-eyed daughter. "Now." They all stepped forward. Ryan's mind raced. Was this a political trap? Some kind of alien test? Or were they truly serious about what they just said? Just then, a small sound broke the tension, a clicking whisper from the side of the hall. Ryan turned sharply. A servant girl stood halfway behind a pillar. She had large, frightened eyes and trembled as she looked at him. The daughters turned sharply, but the servant dropped to her knees and bowed. The queen's voice echoed once more from the shadows. "It is time. Take him to the ritual chamber." The daughters grabbed his arms gently but firmly. Ryan tried not to panic, but every instinct screamed at him. He was walking straight into something he didn't understand, something he might not walk out of. As they moved down the glowing corridor, Ryan whispered to the servant girl, "Help me, please." She looked up and quickly mouthed two words, "Don't choose." The message stuck in his mind. They reached a chamber carved out of shimmering green stone. Glowing symbols floated above the floor, shifting like liquid. In the center was a soft platform covered in gold silk. It looked like a throne but flatter. "This is where it happens," the silver-eyed one whispered. "Where you accept one of us, and if I don't, then we all suffer, and Earth suffers too," said the red-eyed one. "Refusing the queen's daughters is a declaration of disrespect, insult, war." Ryan clenched his fists. "So I'm here to prevent a war by sleeping with royalty." The gold-eyed one nodded. "You were chosen for a reason." Before he could say more, the doors opened again. The queen entered, holding a staff made of bone and metal. Her expression was cold, unreadable. "You may choose one daughter tonight," she said, "or they will choose for you. That is the law of our blood." Ryan looked at all 3. He didn't know their names. He didn't know what would happen next. But he remembered what the servant girl told him, "Don't choose." And in that moment, he made a decision. He stepped forward and said, "I want to learn their names first." The queen narrowed her eyes. The daughters looked confused. "This isn't a game to me," Ryan continued. "If you want me to be part of your legacy, I need to know who I'm bonding with. I need time." The queen lowered her staff. "You ask for delay. I ask for understanding," Ryan said. There was a long silence. Then, finally, the queen nodded. "Very well, you have one night." The daughters stepped back, watching him with new interest. The queen's voice was quiet now. "But tomorrow, you must choose, or we choose for you." Ryan nodded, hiding the relief in his chest. One night, that's all he had, to escape, or to change the rules of the game, and the clock had already started ticking. The night inside the alien palace felt long, but Ryan didn't rest. He sat in the corner of the guest chamber, eyes fixed on the strange glowing patterns carved into the walls. They shifted like living things, watching him. Every breath felt heavier, like the very air carried a warning. He was a human in a royal nest, and he was expected to become part of their bloodline by morning. He heard movement outside. Not guards, not nobles, soft, careful steps. The door opened with a low hum. It was the servant girl, the same one who had whispered, "Don't choose." She stepped in quickly and closed the door behind her, looking around as if being followed. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was firm. "You must listen carefully," she whispered. Ryan stood. "What's going on? Why me? Why all of this?" She didn't waste time. "You were not just chosen because of your DNA. You were selected because you are the only outsider to ever return kindness to one of their kind." "You mean the scout I saved years ago?" She nodded. "That scout was the queen's niece. You were marked as a noble breeder ever since." Ryan paced. "But that doesn't explain the ceremony. Why so much pressure to choose? And why does it feel like I'm being hunted instead of honored?" The servant lowered her voice. "Because you are." She told him everything. Every royal daughter was born of a different father, each a former outsider taken by the queen. During similar feasts, they never returned. The royal family didn't just want strong blood, they wanted silence. Once chosen, the male was kept in the palace forever. Some were never seen again. Ryan felt a chill. "Then why help me?" he asked. The girl looked away. "Because I'm one of them." He froze. "You're a daughter." She nodded slowly. "The queen calls me a failure. I was born without her royal features. I was hidden from the public, raised as a servant. But I remember my father. He was human too." Ryan stared at her. Her face was softer than the others, her eyes duller. But she had a quiet strength. "My name is Neza," she said, "and I want you to survive." Before he could speak, footsteps echoed down the hallway. She slipped out a side passage and vanished. Ryan sat on the bed, breathing hard. Now it made sense. He wasn't the first. He wouldn't be the last. And if he didn't act smart, he'd be just another ghost in their golden prison. Morning came fast. The chamber door opened again, but this time, it wasn't the daughters. A tall male noble entered. His skin was rough, his eyes gray, and his voice deep. "You've caused excitement," he said without emotion. "3 daughters fought over you last night. That hasn't happened in a century." Ryan stood, cautious. "And you are General Harkin." "I serve the queen." He tossed a small orb onto the table. It lit up, showing images previous chosen mates, men from different worlds, some smiling, some afraid, all missing. "I was told to keep the bloodline strong," Harkin said. "But I don't like waste. You seem clever, so I offer a warning. I'm listening. Choose one of them, play your role, and you will be treated like a prince. Refuse, and you'll be removed quietly." Ryan didn't blink. "So I'm free as long as I play." "Pet, you're valuable, not irreplaceable." The general turned and walked out. Ryan picked up the orb. The faces haunted him. Later, he was led to the ritual garden, a vast open space under a glowing dome. Exotic flowers hummed in the breeze. Pools of green water reflected the sky. The daughters stood waiting, wearing robes made of feathers and mist. Zeleri, the gold-eyed one, stepped forward. "We studied your history, Captain. Humans value choice. That's why we allow you one." He didn't speak. The red-eyed daughter, Surla, touched his arm. "Do not waste it. I will make you a king." The silver-eyed one, Nira, simply smiled. "I will make you a legend." Ryan's eyes searched for the one missing face, Neza. She was nowhere. Then, from behind the trees, a whisper reached him. "Tonight, Watergate, run." He kept his face still. The daughters moved closer. Zeleri whispered, "Choose now, or the queen will choose for you." Ryan took a deep breath. "I will give my answer tonight," he said. The daughters frowned, but did not protest. The queen's voice echoed from above. "So be it." And just like that, the garden lights dimmed, and the final countdown began. Ryan had only hours left, one choice to make: mate or escape, and the palace was already closing in. The sun never set on the Cairo palace, not truly. The glowing skies above the dome stayed bright and golden, humming with energy. But the air had changed. Guards now stood closer to Ryan, their hands always near their weapons. The daughters watched him from afar, whispering in a language he didn't know. Everyone acted like a celebration was coming. But Ryan felt like a lamb dressed for a silent slaughter. He walked through the flower-lit corridors with slow steps, pretending to admire the scenery. In truth, he was mapping every hallway, every guard's shift, every possible exit. He wasn't just delaying his decision, he was preparing for the only one that mattered: escape. At one corner of the garden walls, he saw something unexpected. Celeri, the gold-eyed daughter, stood alone near a tree made of crystal branches. She wasn't smiling. She wasn't glowing. She looked tired. She turned and saw him. "You're avoiding us." "I'm thinking," he said carefully. "You don't have to think. I already know you would choose me." Ryan raised a brow. Confidence or prophecy? Celeri stepped closer. "I know what my sisters are. Surla wants a pet she can break. Nira wants a toy she can display. I want something different. And what do you want?" Her voice lowered. "I want out." That caught his attention. "I know what my mother does," she said. "I know what happens to the ones who are chosen. She doesn't care about love or future or peace. She wants control. So I offer you this: choose me tonight, and I'll help you leave tomorrow." Ryan stared at her. "You'd risk betraying your mother." "I already am. She watches everything. But if you choose me, I get leverage, and I get to live with someone who sees me, not just my blood." He studied her face. There was no lie in her voice, no trick in her tone. But trust was expensive in a palace built on secrets. "I'll consider it," he said. "No," she replied. "You don't have time to consider. You need to decide now." Before he could respond, another voice pierced the garden, talking in secret. Sister Surla, the red-eyed one, walked in, her face sharp as a blade. Nira followed close behind, her expression calm, but her silver eyes glowing faintly. Ryan stepped back. "Is this a meeting or a trap?" "Don't flatter yourself," Surla said. "We're not fighting over you. We're warning you." "About what?" Nira's voice was cold. "Make the wrong choice tonight, and you'll beg for the cell over the chamber." Surla moved closer. "Celeri likes to play nice. She dreams of rebellion, but we're not children anymore. We've earned the right to claim what we want." Ryan's jaw tightened. "And what exactly do you want?" Surla smiled. "We want a breeder who doesn't cry. A male who doesn't whimper like the others," Nira whispered. "We want to see if the human myths are true." Ryan didn't reply. He didn't flinch. He simply nodded. "Then we'll see tonight who's brave enough to win." The sisters left, their robes trailing behind them like smoke. Celeri didn't say another word. She vanished into the trees. Ryan stood alone, his thoughts spinning like fire. They all wanted him, but only one offered him a way out. And the queen, she wanted something else entirely. The feast began again at twilight. The grand hall was brighter than ever, filled with music that pulsed like a heartbeat. The nobles danced in circles. The food shimmered on silver trays. But all eyes were on Ryan. He wore the ceremonial robe, a golden sash, a strange collar that tickled his skin, and boots made from alien silk. He looked like a prince, but felt like prey. The queen stood at the head of the hall, her wings spread wide. "The time has come," she declared, "for the chosen one to decide." A drumbeat began. The daughters stepped forward, one by one, each standing beneath a glowing arch. Surla stood in flame. Nira stood in mist. Celeri stood in light. The crowd fell silent. Ryan took a deep breath, and then he did something no one expected. He turned away. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Nobles whispered in shock. Even the daughters froze. The queen narrowed her eyes. "You dare walk away?" Ryan turned to face her. "You asked me to choose. I choose none." The queen's face darkened. Surla stepped forward, furious. "You insult the crown." Nira's voice hissed. "You risk war." But Ryan didn't back down. He raised his voice. "I wasn't brought here for choice. I was brought here as property, and I won't be part of a tradition built on silence and shadows." The queen stepped down from her throne. The room trembled with power. "Then you shall not leave." That's when the explosion shook the side of the palace. Smoke poured through the stone. Guards shouted. Ryan turned and ran. In the chaos, he heard her voice, Neza, calling from the shadows. "Here, this way." She led him through a broken wall, down into the roots of the garden, through tunnels carved in ancient rock. The glow of the palace faded behind them. They didn't stop until they reached a hidden gate under a waterfall. Neza pressed her hand to the stone, and the wall split open. "You have one shot," she whispered. Ryan looked back. Sirens blared. Wings flapped in the sky. But he didn't stop. He stepped through the gate and into the unknown. The tunnel beyond the waterfall was narrow and wet, lit only by glowing moss on the stone walls. Ryan ran with Neza beside him, water splashing at their feet, the sound of alarms echoing behind them. Every step took him farther from the palace, but closer to danger. He didn't know where this path led, only that it was the first time someone had truly given him a way out. Neza breathed heavily as she led the way. "There's an old smuggler's tunnel ahead. It connects to the river outside the city shield. If we reach it before the drones catch us, you'll be free." "And you?" Ryan asked. She didn't answer. They turned a sharp corner, and suddenly the tunnel opened into a small underground chamber. Crates and strange metal containers were stacked against the walls. In the center stood a round platform with glowing runes and a single chair. Ryan stopped. "What is this?" "A launch pad," Neza said. "One-man pod. It's how the traitors used to flee during palace purges. I reactivated it last year, just in case I ever had to disappear." He stepped closer, studying the chair. It didn't look very stable, but it was better than staying. Neza moved to the controls, her fingers flying over them. "It'll take you to the outer orbit just close enough to trigger your ships. Emergency signal." Ryan stared at her. "You're not coming." "I can't," she said, her voice soft now. "If I leave now, they'll hunt us both. But if I stay, I can tell them you overpowered me and fled through a broken wall. It's risky, but it's your best chance." He walked up to her. "You helped me when no one else would." "Why?" Neza looked at him with tired eyes. "Because you're the first one who didn't look at me like I was broken." There was a moment of silence between them. Then a sound of sharp buzzing, growing louder. Ryan looked up. "They're coming." Neza rushed to the panel. "You need to go." Now Ryan climbed into the seat. The harness clicked round his chest. The chair began to rise slowly into the air. Before the platform lifted completely, he leaned forward. "Neza, you're not broken. You're the bravest person I've met." She smiled just once, then vanished behind the crates as footsteps thundered into the chamber. Guards rushed in. The platform shot upward. Ryan felt the pressure slam into his chest as the pod launched, bursting through rock and water like a bullet. It tore into the night sky, past towers and domes, past the force field that flickered too late. He looked out the window. The chiral palace grew smaller, its golden lights fading behind him. His body shook as the pod hit orbit, warning lights flashing on the control screen. But his ship, the Terran Dawn, pinged nearby. He activated the emergency beacon. His ship responded in seconds, locking onto the pod and pulling it into docking. When the hatch opened, fresh, familiar air hit his face. He stumbled into the hallway, gripping the wall, heart still racing. But there was no time to rest. The comms buzzed. A voice from Earth Command came through. "Captain Ryan, you're alive." "What happened down there?" He took a deep breath. "They were going to trap me, use me. But there's more. There's someone still down there who saved me. I want her protected." A pause. "You made contact with a defector?" Ryan looked out the window at the golden planet shrinking behind them. "She's not a defector," he said. "She's a prisoner who risked everything." Command paused again. "Understood. Awaiting coordinates. Do you want to return?" "No," Ryan said. "Not yet. I need to make sure she's safe first." But then the screen lit up with a warning: incoming transmission. Chiral Royal Palace. He hesitated, then accepted the call. The Queen's image appeared. Her eyes were colder now, her wings folded tight behind her. "You fled," she said. "You embarrassed me before my court. My daughters are furious." Ryan crossed his arms. "Your court treats people like property. I was never going to stay. You could have ruled beside them," she said. "Instead, you chose betrayal." "No," he replied. "I chose freedom." The Queen stared at him. Then she said something unexpected. "One of my daughters is missing." Ryan's eyes narrowed. "What?" "Neza," she said. "She vanished minutes before you escaped." "Did you take her?" His voice stayed calm. "No. But if I did, would that change anything?" The Queen's voice dropped into a low whisper. "If she is found with you, she will be treated as a traitor, and you will be hunted across every sector." The transmission cut. Ryan stood still, breathing hard. He turned to the pilot controls. If the Queen believed Neza was with him, she would never stop looking, which meant one thing. He had to go back, not as a guest, not as a prize, but as a storm. The Terran Dawn hovered in orbit like a silent shadow, its engines cold, lights dimmed. Ryan sat alone in the command chair, staring at the distant glow of the chiral palace far below. He should have been halfway home by now. He should have left this cursed place behind, let someone else deal with royal politics and breeding rituals. But he couldn't. Somewhere down there, in that maze of golden towers and crystal walls, was Neza alone, surrounded by enemies and carrying the weight of his escape on her shoulders. He opened the ship's encrypted console and typed a direct message to Earth Command, requesting mission override, initiating unauthorized re-entry. One target to recover, chiral civilian, codename Neza, expect resistance. Backup optional, time critical. He pressed send, locked the controls, and marched to the hangar. The infiltration suit clung tight to his body, black and armored with light-bending plating. The kind of gear used by Earth's elite Black Ops. No ceremony now, no ambassador badge. Just a human breaking into an alien palace that thought they owned him. The drop pod hissed as it launched from the underside of the ship. Fire surrounded the small capsule as it tore through chiral's upper atmosphere like a meteor. Ryan braced himself. He had one shot, in and out before they knew he was more than a ghost. The pod crashed into a forgotten canyon behind the outer gardens. Smoke and dust rose into the air, but Ryan was already moving, blending with the rocks. He found the servant tunnels again, just as Neza had shown him. The guards hadn't patched the breach yet. Classic arrogance. They thought humans were weak. They thought he was done. He wasn't. Every step through the narrow passage reminded him of the night before. Her voice, her eyes, her courage. She had given him freedom, now he would give her the same. Then he heard voices ahead. Guards. He pressed against the wall and activated the suit's cloaking layer. Two chiral soldiers passed by, arguing in their chittering tongue. One of them held a scanning device. "She's still inside," one said in broken English. "The Queen believes she helped the human. If she resists the memory probe, she will be erased." Ryan's teeth clenched. He waited until they vanished around the bend, then moved faster. He followed the path through the old servant quarters until he reached a small room, lit by a single lantern. Inside, Neza sat on the floor, wrists bound, face bruised. A noble stood over her, adjusting a silver device connected to her head. "You'll tell us everything," the noble hissed. "Even if your mind cracks open." Ryan didn't knock. He burst through the door and tackled the noble to the floor. The man screamed, but Ryan drove his fist into the alien's jaw, then slammed the scanning device with a boot. Sparks flew. Neza gasped. Her eyes fluttered open. "You came back." Ryan sliced her bindings. Didn't promise for nothing. They didn't wait. The room was already alive with sirens. Ryan pulled her close and activated the smoke emitter from his belt. Thick clouds filled the corridor as he led her through the backup escape route she had marked before. Footsteps gave chase behind them. More alarms. Voices shouted from every direction. They ducked through kitchens, past nobles running in panic, past drones searching the upper balconies. Ryan threw a stolen cloak over Neza as they dashed through a broken hall with a shattered window. He smashed the rest of the glass and dragged her onto the ledge, a massive drop. No time to think. He tapped his wrist. The Terran Dawn responded. A soft hum approached in the distance. His stealth glider drone zipped into view, small, sleek, built for speed. He helped Neza onto the back, secured her arms around him, and leaned forward. "Hold tight," he warned. They dove from the ledge just as blaster fire scorched the wall behind them. The glider screamed through the air, weaving between towers. Surla appeared on a balcony. Wings spread, firing bolts of red lightning. One shot grazed Ryan's shoulder. He bit back the pain and rolled midair, the drone nearly flipping from the maneuver. Then, finally, the palace disappeared behind them. They shot through the sky like a shadow reborn. Inside the Terran dawn, alarms blared as they landed in the lower deck. Ryan collapsed, bleeding from the shoulder, chest heaving. Neza crawled beside him and grabbed his face. "You idiot," she whispered. "You came back." He smirked, teeth stained red. "Told you, couldn't leave the brave one behind." Then the main screen blinked. Incoming transmission, Royal Palace. Ryan stood, blood still dripping down his arm. The Queen appeared again, her face burning with fury. "You have made an enemy of the Chiral Empire," she snarled. "This insult will not be forgotten." Ryan looked her straight in the eye. "Good. Then remember who taught your daughters what real strength looks like." The screen shattered. He turned to Neza. "You ready for a new life?" She nodded. "One without chains." Ryan sat back in the pilot's seat and fired the engines. The Terran dawn roared into the stars, and behind them, the Empire burned in silence. The stars stretched like silver streaks as the Terran dawn soared through deep space, leaving the Chiral Empire far behind. The ship's hull hummed with the smooth rhythm of hyperspeed travel. But inside the cockpit, silence filled the air. Ryan sat at the helm, his wounded arm freshly wrapped, eyes fixed on the endless void ahead. Neza sat beside him, quiet, thoughtful, watching the stars, but not really seeing them. Neither of them spoke for a long time. The mission was done. The escape was complete. Yet something still hung in the air, unfinished, uncertain. She finally broke the silence. "They'll come for you. For both of us." Ryan leaned back. "Let them. They won't stop at warnings. You embarrassed the Queen, humiliated her court. That kind of wound doesn't heal with time." Ryan glanced at her. "I didn't come back for war. I came back for you." Neza smiled, but there was sadness in her eyes. "And now you carry a target because of it." He reached across the controls and pressed a few buttons. A star map opened in front of them. Dozens of routes glowed red, paths he couldn't take anymore. Too risky. Too close to Chiral territory. But one route pulsed green. A path into neutral space. "There's a colony in the outer rings," Ryan said. "No flags, no rulers. Just people who want to live without being owned. We can disappear there. Start over." She looked at him, unsure. "Disappear?" He nodded. "No titles. No queens. No rituals. Just a man and a woman who survived something no one else could." For the first time since their escape, her shoulders relaxed. But the peace didn't last long. A warning flashed across the dashboard. Long-range scan. Vessel detected. Unknown signature. Intercept course. Ryan narrowed his eyes. "We're being followed." Neza stood quickly. "It's too soon. They moved faster than I thought." Ryan began evasive maneuvers, guiding the Terran dawn into an asteroid belt nearby. The ship dipped behind a massive rock, its engines dimming to hide its trail. The columns crackled. A voice came through, cold, proud. "Female. This is Zeleri of the Chiral Royal Line. Captain Ryan, I know you're listening." Ryan's jaw tightened. "Her." Neza stepped closer to the console. "Answer it. She won't stop until she gets your attention." Ryan tapped the comm. Zeleri's face appeared on the screen. She looked different. No royal robes, no gold makeup. Her hair was tied back, her face serious. "I didn't come to fight," she said. "I came to offer a warning." Ryan folded his arms. "You mean like the last one, where you asked me to choose you and promised freedom that never came?" "I meant every word," she said. "But my mother was watching. I had no power to act." "Then what do you want now?" Zeleri hesitated. "The Empire is already preparing to respond. You didn't just escape, you broke a law that hasn't been challenged in 5 centuries. They want blood." Neza spoke up, voice sharp. "And what do you want, sister? To bring me back in chains?" Zeleri looked surprised, then smiled faintly. "You're braver than I thought, Neza." "I'm free," she said. "That's all that matters now." Zeleri looked back at Ryan. "You saved her. You embarrassed the Queen. But if you stay in hiding, she'll use that silence to make you a villain. She'll twist the truth, and every planet will believe it." Ryan leaned forward. "So what do you suggest? A parade?" "No," Zeleri said. "A message. Broadcast what really happened. Show them the truth, the court rituals, the breeding games. The lies behind the feast. If you speak before the queen does, others will question her, maybe even defy her. Ryan didn't answer at first. He stared at the console, thinking. Then he looked at Neza. "It's not my story," he said. "It's hers." Neza nodded slowly. "Then let's tell it right." Zaleri gave a small nod of respect. "You have allies in places you don't expect. Some even wear crowns." The signal cut. Ryan leaned back in his chair. Broadcast it is. Together, they activated the ship's wide-range communication systems. They uploaded every recording Ryan had from the moment he arrived at the palace to the moment he escaped with Neza. The feast, the forced ceremony, the threats, the drone attack, every detail. Neza recorded her own message, short, calm, and honest. "My name is Neza of the Cairo. I was born a royal daughter, but lived as a servant. I was told my blood was too weak, my body unworthy. But one human reminded me that worth is not something others decide. It's something you claim." They sent the transmission across the galactic web, and then they waited. Hours passed, then the replies started coming, first from small colonies, then from distant trade ships, then from chiral allies. "We see you. We believe you. We support you." Ryan looked at Neza, a smile finally breaking across his tired face. "You're not invisible anymore." She smiled back. "Neither are you." The galaxy had changed, and they two souls who were once nothing but tools in someone else's game had become the ones rewriting the rules. Together,